This is a demonstration of exercise 428, compute and interpret Altman's z-scores. Following is selected financial information for Netflix for 2018 and 2017, and the problem asks us in Part A to compute and compare the Altman z-scores for both years and what explains the apparent trend. So I have computed the Altman z-score for 2017, and let's see how this works. First, we compute ratios. The first ratio is working capital divided by total assets. Current assets minus current liabilities is working capital, and then we divide that by total assets. When we do that, we get this ratio. Altman then gave weights to the different ratios. So you multiply the ratio by the weight to get the score. The second ratio is retained earnings to total assets. So you get that ratio is multiplied by the weight to get the score. The next one is earnings before interest and taxes divided by total assets. Again, we got the ratio, the weight, and the score. The next one is the market value of equity to total liabilities. To get market value of equity, you multiply the shares outstanding times the stock price and divide that by total liabilities. I got that ratio or that number, multiplied it by the weight to get the score. And the last one is sales divided by total assets. And you get that ratio and multiply it by the weight and get the score. Then sum all of the individual scores to get the overall z-score. I'll let you compute the z-score for 2018. You would use the same process. The B portion of the problem asks, is the company more likely to go bankrupt given the z-score in 2018 compared to 2017? So after you compute the z-score for 2018, you want to compare it to 2017 and see what the trend is. If the trend has gone up, the company is less likely to go bankrupt. If it goes down, they are more likely to go bankrupt. But let's see how we are to interpret these scores. Altman came up with categories. If the z-score is greater than 3, the company's healthy and there's a very low bankruptcy potential in the short term. Next, if the z-score falls to 2.99 to 1.80, then it begins to be in what is called a gray area. The company is exposed to some risk of bankruptcy, and so caution is advised. Finally, if the z-score falls to below 1.8, the company is in financial distress, and there is a high bankruptcy potential in the short term. So when we look at the 2017 z-score for Netflix, it's above 3. So Netflix has a low potential in 2017 to declare bankruptcy. But we'll need to know what the trend is or what the z-score is in 2018 to determine whether or not it's going up or down. Also, we need to look at the components of the z-score. If you notice, most of Netflix z-score is coming from the market value of equity to total liabilities. Now, if the stock price of Netflix were to go down, that would throw their z-score into the gray area. So let's see exactly how that would work. The stock price in 2017 was 191.96. Let's say it drops by half to 91.96. Let's see what that does to the z-score. Notice that now the z-score is in the gray area. So it's obvious that Netflix z-score is highly dependent on the stock price. So some lenders might be concerned about that. Even though they have a z-score that's above 3, it's coming from this area of their that is highly dependent on their stock price. So that is the conclusion of the demonstration for exercise 428.